Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of Orbital Station Delta, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the massive alien vessel emerge from hyperspace. The ship's crystalline structure caught Earth's sunlight, fracturing it into 1,000 rainbow patterns that would have been beautiful if not for the circumstances. Beside her, the station's AI projected the latest analysis. Zix's collective worship inevitable dominance, the AI reported in its characteristic monotone. Energy readings suggest weapon systems are powered but not actively targeting. Yet, Chen murmured, her dark eyes never leaving the alien vessel. 20 years of defending Earth's orbital space had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now every one of them was screaming danger. The communication array chimed, and a holographic display materialized in the center of the command deck. Supreme Overseerix of the Zix Collective appeared, their crystalline form pulsing with what Chen had learned to recognize as barely contained contempt. Representatives of Earth, Rix's translated voice filled the chamber. Your continued resistance to joining the collective has become tiresome. We have spent 3 of your planetary cycles attempting diplomatic integration. Our patience expires today. Chen maintained her composed expression, though internally she was calculating combat scenarios. The Zix had appeared 3 years ago, offering humanity protection and guidance in exchange for what amounted to complete submission. They'd seemed genuinely confused when Earth's unified government had politely declined. Overseer Rix, Chen responded, her voice steady. As we've explained in our previous 17 diplomatic sessions, Earth appreciates the collective's offer, but maintains its position as a sovereign world. We remain open to trade negotiations and cultural exchange. Silence. Rix's crystalline form flashed brilliant red. Your primitive species fails to comprehend its place in the galactic hierarchy. We have analyzed your civilization thoroughly. Your primary defenses consist of kinetic weapon platforms and crude nuclear devices. Your ships barely achieve interplanetary travel. You are, by any measure, a Class 3 developing world in need of guidance. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps we could schedule another diplomatic. You have 6 Earth hours to surrender control of your orbital defenses and ground-based military installations. Failure to comply will result in immediate pacification. The hologram vanished. The command deck erupted into controlled activity. Lieutenant Commander Rodriguez approached with a tablet displaying real-time updates from Earth's defense grid. Admiral, all stations report ready. Should we begin evacuation protocols? Chen turned from the viewport, and for the first time since the transmission, her stern expression cracked into something resembling amusement. No evacuations, Commander. Instead, send code Omega to all stations. It's time to educate our friends about the danger of cornering a species that evolved on a death world. Rodriguez's eyes widened. Code Omega. But that means... Yes. Chen nodded, walking to the central command console. Activate Project Lazarus. Let's show them what we've been hiding under all those primitive defense platforms. Throughout Earth's orbital space, seemingly simple satellite networks and defense platforms began to transform. Quantum shields, previously masked as atmospheric monitoring systems, hummed to life. Weapon systems that the Zix's scans had dismissed as basic railguns revealed their true nature as phase-shifted plasma accelerators. Technology Earth had reverse-engineered from studying the debris of a Zix scout ship that had gotten too curious 2 years ago. In underground bases across the planet, engineers and scientists who had spent years preparing for this moment began their final checks. Project Lazarus, humanity's insurance policy against alien aggression, was about to demonstrate why underestimating humans was a potentially fatal mistake. Send a message to Overseer Rix, Chen commanded, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's determination. Tell them we're declining their generous offer, and add a quote from our history. We have not yet begun to fight. As the message was transmitted, Chen reflected on the irony of the situation. The Zix Collective, like so many advanced species, had forgotten a fundamental truth about evolution. The most dangerous creatures weren't always the ones with the biggest weapons or the most advanced technology. Sometimes, the most dangerous were those who had learned to hide their strengths until the perfect moment to strike. In the following hours, Earth's orbital space became a chessboard, with the Zix positioning their forces for what they assumed would be a swift subjugation of a primitive world. They never noticed the quantum entanglement fields being established between Earth's defense platforms, nor did they detect the dark matter reactors spinning up in hidden lunar bases. Admiral Chen watched it all from her command post, remembering the words of her grandmother, a survivor of humanity's last great war. The art of war is not about having the biggest stick, but about making your enemy think your stick is smaller than it really is, right up until the moment you use it. The 6-hour deadline approached, and Chen felt a strange calm settle over her. The Zix Collective was about to learn a harsh lesson about humanity, one that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what it meant to be a Deathworld species. They would learn why Earth's history was filled with stories of triumph against overwhelming odds, why humanity's greatest achievements often came in its darkest hours. 1 hour to deadline, Admiral Rodriguez reported. Chen nodded, sending out a final encrypted transmission to Earth's defense forces. All stations, initialize Lazarus protocols. Let's show the galaxy why you never corner a species that turned survival into an art form. The pieces were set. The trap was ready, and humanity was about to remind the galaxy why Deathworld species were feared across the cosmos. Deep beneath the Atacama Desert, Dr. Maya Patel stood in the heart of Project Lazarus, surrounded by holographic displays showing the status of humanity's hidden fleet. The enormous underground chamber hummed with the energy of dark matter reactors, powering ships that officially didn't exist. Quantum entanglement network at 98% synchronization, reported her chief engineer, Dr. James O'Connor, his fingers dancing across control surfaces. The Zix still haven't detected the signal bleed. Their overconfidence is working in our favor. Maya nodded, watching as another display showed the Zix fleet settling into attack positions around Earth. 500 ships, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. To their sensors, Earth's orbital defense grid appeared to be nothing more than a scattered collection of primitive weaponry, railguns, missile platforms, and early warning satellites. They really believe we're that primitive, Maya mused, pulling up the specifications of the Zix flagship. Their entire strategy is based on the assumption that we're barely out of our industrial age. Tell me, James, what do you think their reaction will be when they realize we've had quantum phase technology for the past decade? Probably the same as when they realize we've been using their own communication networks to study their tactical protocols. James grinned, bringing up another display showing streams of decoded Zix military data. Having a quantum AI that can crack their encryption in real time has been enlightening. The facility's central AI, Atlas, materialized as a shifting geometric pattern. Dr. Patel, the final simulations are complete. Based on observed Zix battle patterns and their current deployment, I project an 89.7% success rate for Operation Reverse Perspective. Maya studied the simulation data. The plan was audacious, perhaps even insane by conventional military standards. But then again, humans had never been conventional. While the Zix saw only primitive defenses, Earth's true fleet lay hidden in quantum pocket spaces throughout the solar system, ready to emerge at precisely calculated points. Update from Admiral Chen, Atlas announced. The Zix have begun moving additional forces into the system. Their flagship is broadcasting victory announcements on all frequencies. They're quite certain of their success. Maya couldn't help but smile at the irony. The Zix, like many advanced species, had developed their technology along predictable lines. Energy weapons, shield systems, faster than light travel. But they'd never considered the possibilities that arose from quantum manipulation of space-time itself. They'd never had to, having evolved on a peaceful world with abundant resources. Humans, on the other hand, had evolved on a death world where survival required constant innovation. When they discovered quantum mechanics, they hadn't just studied it. They'd weaponized it in ways the Zix couldn't imagine. Dr. Patel. Atlas interrupted her thoughts. Admiral Chen requests activation of Phase 1. The Zix have accelerated their timeline. They're launching their first strike in 30 minutes. Maya straightened, her expression hardening. Very well. James, begin power-up sequences for all Lazarus vessels. Atlas, initiate quantum field harmonics. Let's show them what happens when you cornered humanity. Throughout the solar system, hidden quantum pockets began to resonate. The seemingly primitive defense platforms in Earth orbit subtly altered their positions, creating a complex geometric pattern invisible to conventional sensors. Each movement was precisely calculated to create a quantum interference pattern that would transform Earth's orbital space into a trap of the Zix's own making. Message from Luna Base, Atlas reported. Dark matter containment fields are stable. The quantum singularity drives are spooled and ready. Maya accessed the primary control interface, her fingers moving with practiced precision. Begin final countdown. Notify all Lazarus vessels. Emergence in 25 minutes. And James, send a message to Admiral Chen. Tell her the hunter's blind is set. The next 20 minutes were a symphony of controlled chaos as humanity's hidden fleet prepared for revelation. Each ship represented the pinnacle of human ingenuity. Vessels powered by artificial quantum singularities, armed with weapons that bent the fabric of space-time itself. They were the product of a species that had learned to turn their harsh evolutionary history into an advantage. 5 minutes to Zix engagement, Atlas announced. Their weapons are powered. They're targeting what they believe to be our primary defense installations. Maya watched the tactical display, noting how the Zix fleet had positioned themselves exactly where humanity's models had predicted. Their formation was perfect for an attack on a primitive civilization, and perfect for walking into humanity's trap. You know, James said quietly, I almost feel sorry for them. They have no idea what they're about to face. Maya shook her head. They had every opportunity to accept peaceful coexistence. Instead, they chose to threaten a species that turned survival into a science. Computer, send final authorization codes to all Lazarus vessels. Operation Reverse Perspective is now active. Throughout the solar system, quantum fields began to shift. In the space between moments, humanity's true fleet waited to emerge. The Zix were about to learn why you never corner a species that had evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day of their existence. All stations report ready, Atlas confirmed. Quantum field harmonics at peak efficiency. Awaiting your command, Dr. Patel. Maya took a deep breath, thinking of all the generations of humans who had dreamed of reaching the stars, who had looked up at the night sky with hope rather than fear. The Zix thought they were bringing order to a primitive world. Instead, they were about to become an object lesson in the danger of underestimating humanity. Begin Operation Reversed Perspective, she commanded. Let's rewrite their understanding of what it means to be a Deathworld species. Supreme Overseer Rix watched with smug satisfaction as the deadline approached. The primitive humans' orbital platforms hadn't even powered up their primitive weapons. Their resistance would be minimal, just another footnote in the Zix Collective's glorious history of bringing order to chaos. Energy spike detected in the human defense grid, reported Sub-Commander Vex, their crystalline form flickering with mild concern. Pattern matches known primitive nuclear launch signatures. Let them waste their arsenal, Rix dismissed. Our shields were designed to withstand weapons far more sophisticated than their crude atomic devices. The first human missiles launched from Earth's surface, their trajectories predictably aimed at the Zix fleet. Rix didn't even bother ordering evasive maneuvers. The missiles would either be intercepted by point defense systems or harmlessly splash against their superior shields. The missiles detonated well short of their targets, creating a brilliant display that temporarily overwhelmed the Zix sensors. When the interference cleared, nothing had changed. The human weapons had failed exactly as expected. Begin the pacification sequence, Rix commanded. Target their primary military installations and overseer. Vex's voice carried an edge of panic. Quantum anomalies detected throughout the engagement space. The seemingly empty space around Earth's orbital platforms began to shimmer. Where there had been nothing but vacuum, massive ships started to appear, emerging from what the Zix's sensors identified as localized space-time distortions. But that was impossible. The humans were barely capable of lunar travel, let alone quantum manipulation technology. Admiral Chen's voice came through on all frequencies, translated perfectly into Zix harmonic speech. Attention Zix collective forces. Those missiles weren't meant to damage your ships. They were carrying quantum resonators, calibrated to your shield frequencies. Thank you for letting us get so close. Rix's crystalline form pulsed with rage and disbelief as the tactical display updated. The human vessels weren't appearing randomly. They were emerging in a precise, geometric pattern that matched the position of every Zix ship in the fleet. Impossible, Rix thundered. Their technology is primitive. We analyzed every aspect of their civilization. You analyze what we wanted you to see. Chen's voice carried a hint of amusement. You should have wondered why a Deathworld species would develop such basic defenses. Did you really think we survived our evolution by being predictable? The quantum resonators activated simultaneously, creating a cascade effect that interfaced with the Zix ship's shield harmonics. Each human vessel now occupied the same quantum space as its Zix counterpart, a feat that should have been theoretically impossible. What you're experiencing, Chen continued, is what we call quantum phase synchronization. Your shields are now linked to our ship's systems. Any aggressive action on your part will result in a feedback loop that will collapse your own defensive fields. In essence, you've been quantum locked. Throughout the Zix fleet, weapon systems refused to respond. Shield generators hummed with unfamiliar frequencies. They were trapped in a three-dimensional grid of quantum entanglement. Their own defensive technology turned against them. This is your only warning. Chen's voice hardened. Withdraw your forces immediately, or we will demonstrate exactly why threatening a Deathworld species was a critical error in judgment. Rix's tactical officers were frantically trying to break free of the quantum lock, but each attempt only strengthened the entanglement. The humans had turned space itself into a weapon, using the Zix's own shield technology as an anchor point. You think this display of trickery will save you? Rix broadcast, trying to maintain some semblance of control. The collective has subjugated dozens of worlds. We will not be deterred by primitive. The rest of Rix's speech was cut off as every human vessel simultaneously activated their primary weapons. But instead of conventional energy beams or projectiles, they fired concentrated bursts of quantum-entangled particles. The particles passed through the Zix shields as if they weren't there, because technically, they existed in the same quantum state. Across the Zix fleet, ships began to lose power as their quantum cores were forced into synchronization with the human vessels. Systems crashed as unfamiliar codes propagated through neural networks. Emergency protocols activated, only to be subverted by quantum state manipulations that the Zix had never conceived possible. Fascinating, isn't it? Chen's voice returned. We call it quantum virus deployment. Your ship's systems are being reprogrammed at the quantum level. Don't worry. The effects are temporary. Consider this a demonstration of what happens when you force a Deathworld species to get creative with physics. The Zix flagship's bridge was chaos as systems continued to fail. Through it all, Rix watched in stunned disbelief as their mighty fleet was systematically neutralized by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The humans hadn't just prepared for this confrontation. They had orchestrated it, using the Zix's own arrogance as a weapon against them. Final warning, Chen announced. The next demonstration won't be temporary. You have 5 minutes to signal your withdrawal, or we'll show you why humans turned quantum mechanics into an art form. As Rix stared at the tactical display, watching their fleet's systems fall one by one to human quantum manipulation, a terrifying thought occurred to them. What other capabilities had this Deathworld species been hiding? And more importantly, what had the Zix Collective awakened by threatening Earth? The countdown began, and with it, the collective's understanding of their place in the galaxy started to fundamentally change. In the quantum-locked space above Earth, Supreme Overseer Rix watched the countdown timer with mounting dread. 4 minutes remained until the humans' deadline expired, and still, the collective's most advanced AI systems couldn't break free from the quantum entanglement grid. Status report. Rix demanded, their crystalline form pulsing with agitated energy patterns. Sub-Commander Vex's response was thick with defeat. All attempts to disengage from quantum lock have failed. The human's technology. It operates on principles we've never encountered. They're not just manipulating quantum states. They're rewriting the fundamental laws of local spacetime. From her command post on Orbital Station Delta, Admiral Chen monitored the Zix fleet's increasingly desperate attempts to break free. Each failed effort only strengthened the quantum entanglement, like a cosmic version of quicksand. The more they struggled, the deeper they sank. Dr. Patel, Chen called through the quantum-secured channel. Are you seeing this? They're trying to use their primary cores to generate a resonance cascade. In the Atacama facility, Maya studied the energy readings with professional interest. They still don't understand what they're dealing with. Atlas, show me a simulation of what happens if they succeed. The AI displayed a holographic model of the Zix's attempted escape plan. Their resonance cascade would indeed break the quantum lock. Atlas confirmed. However, the feedback loop would cause their own shields to implode. Maya finished. They're so focused on breaking free that they haven't realized we're using their own shield harmonics as the quantum anchor points. Admiral Chen's voice carried a note of genuine concern. Should we stop them? They might actually try it. 3 minutes to deadline, Atlas announced. Maya made a decision. Open a channel to their flagship. They need to understand exactly what position they're in. On the bridge of the inevitable dominance, a new hologram materialized. Dr. Maya Patel's image appeared before the Zix command staff, her expression one of professional courtesy masking steel determination. Supreme Overseer Rix. Maya began. I'm Dr. Maya Patel, Chief Architect of Project Lazarus. I'm contacting you because your engineers are about to make a catastrophic error. The quantum lock binding your ships isn't just a restraint. It's the only thing preventing your shield generators from creating a recursive feedback loop that would collapse your entire defense grid. Rix's crystalline form flashed with defiant colors. You expect us to believe. I expect you to look at your own sensor data. Maya interrupted. Your shield harmonics are perfectly synchronized with our quantum field generators. Any attempt to force desynchronization will result in shield implosion. We're not holding you in place. We're keeping you intact. The Zix's tactical officers frantically reviewed their data, their crystalline forms dimming as they realized the truth. Their mighty fleet, the pride of the collective, was being preserved by the very humans they had come to subjugate. 2 minutes to deadline. Atlas's voice echoed through all channels. Admiral Chen opened a general broadcast. While Dr. Patel has your attention, perhaps you'd like to see what else a Deathworld species can do when pushed into a corner. At her signal, the quantum pocket spaces throughout the solar system began to shift again. This time, they revealed not ships, but massive structures that had been hidden in plain sight. Orbital defense platforms transformed, quantum fields dissolving to show their true nature, not simple weapon platforms, but interconnected nodes of a solar system-wide quantum computation network. You see, Chen continued, while you were studying our visible technology, we were studying something far more important. You. Every transmission, every shield frequency, every tactical doctrine. We didn't just prepare for this confrontation. We engineered it. The holographic displays on the Zix flagship showed the true extent of human preparation. Their entire fleet had been drawn into a carefully orchestrated trap, positioned exactly where Earth's quantum network could exert maximum control. 1 minute to deadline, Atlas announced. In the Atacama facility, Maya watched as the Zix finally began to understand their situation. "Admiral," she called, "they're powering down their weapon systems. 50 seconds. Atlas continued the countdown. Supreme Overseer Rix's voice came through, their usual arrogance replaced by something approaching respect. "You orchestrated all of this. The primitive technology, the delayed responses to our demands." "We learned long ago," Chen replied, "that the best way to survive is to ensure your enemies underestimate you until it's too late. Humanity didn't just survive on a death world. We mastered it. Did you really think we wouldn't be prepared for threats from beyond our planet?" 30 seconds. The quantum field surrounding Earth pulsed with potential energy as hidden generators spooled up to full power. Each of humanity's ships now held the quantum signature of their Zix counterparts in a deadlock that could end in either peaceful resolution or mutual destruction. "Your response, Overseer," Chen prompted. "The next demonstration will involve quantum state manipulation on a scale your scientists have probably deemed impossible. Would you like to find out if we're bluffing?" Throughout the Zix fleet, crews watched their commanders with crystalline forms dimmed in submission. They had come expecting to find primitive beings ready for conquest. Instead, they had found a species that had turned the laws of physics themselves into a weapon. 10 seconds. Rix's response came with 5 seconds remaining. "The Zix Collective withdraws its forces and recognizes Earth's sovereignty. We request permission to depart." The quantum locks began to disengage, carefully releasing each ship from the entanglement grid. As the Zix fleet retreated, they carried with them a lesson that would reshape galactic politics. Never corner a species that had turned survival into a science, and never assume that visible technology tells the whole story. 1 month after the Zix Collective's failed attempt to subjugate Earth, the galactic community was still reeling from the implications. In the Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 1,000 species gathered to witness an unprecedented event. Humanity's first official address to the assembled races of the known universe. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the podium, her formal uniform adorned with the new insignia of Earth's Defense Force. Beside her, Dr. Maya Patel prepared the quantum demonstration that would forever change the galaxy's understanding of what humans were capable of. High Counselor Zena, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate environmental field, spoke first. "This emergency session has been called to address the recent incident involving the Zix Collective and the species known as humans. Supreme Overseer Rix has submitted a formal report that many found difficult to believe." Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Zix, once among the most militant forces in the galaxy, had withdrawn all military presence from the Sol sector and formally recognized Earth as a sovereign power. More shocking still were their warnings about human technological capabilities. "Difficult to believe." Chen's voice carried clearly through the translation field. "Perhaps a demonstration is in order." "Dr. Patel." Maya activated a small device on her wrist. Throughout the chamber, quantum sensors began registering impossible readings. The space around the human delegation shimmered, and suddenly there were a dozen identical versions of Chen and Paddle standing at different points in the chamber. "Quantum state replication," Maya explained as the council members recoiled in shock. "Just one of many applications we've developed from our understanding of space-time manipulation. Don't worry, they're just projections." The duplicates vanished, leaving only the original humans at the podium. Chen continued, "We didn't come here to threaten or intimidate. We came to establish understanding. Humanity has no interest in conquest or domination. We simply wish to ensure that what happened with the Zix never happens again." A crystalline being from the outer rim spoke up. "But your technology, how did you develop such capabilities while appearing so primitive?" "Necessity," Chen replied simply. "On Earth, we have a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. Our atmosphere is corrosive to many species. Our gravity is crushing by galactic standards. We endure extreme temperature variations, natural disasters, and thousands of potentially lethal organisms. Maya took over, her voice carrying the weight of scientific authority. When we realized we weren't alone in the universe, we didn't see it as just an opportunity for advancement. We saw it as a potential threat to our survival. So we did what humans have always done. We prepared for the worst while hoping for the best. High Counselor Zena's energy form pulsed with curiosity. And the quantum technology. Even the most advanced races have barely scratched the surface of such manipulation. We approached it differently, Maya explained. Most species developed quantum technology as an extension of their existing scientific understanding. We developed it as a means of survival. When you evolve on a death world, you learn to think beyond conventional limitations. The assembly chamber's displays activated, showing recordings from the confrontation with the Zix. The quantum locks, the hidden fleet, the system-wide defense network, all of it testament to humanity's unique approach to survival and innovation. We're not here to claim superiority, Chen assured the Council. We're here to offer partnership. Earth stands ready to share our discoveries, to engage in cultural exchange, and to work together for the advancement of all species. But we also stand ready to defend ourselves if necessary. A new voice spoke from the assembly. Supreme Overseer Rix, their crystalline form notably subdued. The humans speak truth. We thought them primitive and found ourselves outmaneuvered not just technologically, but strategically. They turned our own assumptions into a weapon against us, because that's what humans do. Chen responded, not unkindly. We adapt. We survive. We turn disadvantages into advantages. It's coded into our very being by millions of years of evolution on a world that never stopped challenging us. Maya activated one final demonstration, a holographic display of Earth, showing its various environmental challenges and the technological solutions humans had developed to overcome them. Every problem we faced made us stronger. Every challenge forced us to innovate. We don't want to fight, but we will never stop preparing for the possibility. As the assembly absorbed this information, High Counselor Zena made an unprecedented decision. The Council recognizes Earth not just as a sovereign world, but as a Class 1 civilization, with all the rights and responsibilities thereof. Furthermore, we request humanity's assistance in establishing new protocols for first contact situations to ensure peaceful integration of emerging civilizations. Chen and Maya exchanged glances. This was more than they had hoped for, a chance not just to protect Earth, but to help shape a more understanding galaxy. We accept, Chen replied, on one condition, that the galaxy remembers this lesson. Judge no species by their apparent level of technology. The most dangerous capabilities are often the ones you don't see until it's too late. The assembly chamber erupted in agreement, and a new chapter in galactic history began. Humanity had proven that being from a death world didn't just mean being physically tough. It meant being innovative, adaptable, and capable of turning any disadvantage into a strength. As the session concluded, Maya leaned over to Chen and whispered, "Think they'll ever fully understand us?" Chen watched the assembled representatives, still buzzing with excitement and apprehension about Earth's revelations. "Probably not," she smiled. "But maybe that's for the best. After all, a little mystery keeps the galaxy interesting." And so humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, not as conquerors or subjects, but as survivors who had turned their harsh evolutionary history into their greatest strength. The galaxy would never again mistake technological visibility for capability, nor underestimate a species that had learned to thrive on a world that had tried its best to kill them.